Hello YouTube, we are back with another one magazine challenge. Today we are working with this issue of Vogue. So you know the drill, let's do a flip through. When I was going through this magazine, I was looking, just kind of seeing what the lay of the land was. Vogue is always really reliable because of its advertisements, which is funny because it's something that kind of counts against it when you're reading it, but when you're using it for materials, advertisements can always be really great. Even if you don't like the people, these fashion advertisements tend to have a lot of really good items and also textures, colors, and backgrounds. I always go for Vogue if I find it in a stack of stuff to be recycled because you can always find some really good stuff. What's funny is you might recognize some of these advertisements from the previous Collage With Me video. They are very repetitive when it comes to these fashion magazines especially. I wasn't recognizing this magazine at all, but you'll see when we get to this certain spread, I guess that I've had this issue before. This happens to me sometimes where I'll get a magazine from one place and then realize that I've already gotten it. So I didn't recognize it until I saw this. This picture I've used in a collage. So I guess at some point I had this magazine, even though I have no memory of it, because I don't think that picture is in any other magazine. But anyway, I digress. So yes, Vogue is always really good for advertisements, textures, colors. I really like this editorial spread here. So I was excited to see what I could put to use in 2 pages. So now that we went through the flip through, I'm just looking to see what I think I could actually use today. This is not a full harvest. I did go back and harvest it beyond this, so this wasn't everything I wanted to keep, but I was mainly looking for what I thought I could really use to all go together. There were a lot of really good colors in these ads. After my last Collage With Me where I got really abstract with it, I didn't know what I wanted to do this time, so I was picking a lot of different stuff out, which was really fun. I love that advertisement on the right with the writing on the person's skin. Incredible. But yeah, so was just kind of flipping through, seeing what I thought I could use, and I do really like how it ended up coming together, so keep watching. Now, I ripped out this page because I knew I really wanted that quote. I was looking, it's like I saw the quote first and then the collage came after, which was kind of cool. That doesn't happen often. But because I had used text in the previous Collage With Me, I knew I wanted to use text again. So I found myself like purposefully looking for images and text. I love that spread, but I didn't pick anything for it for now. Okay, so we've got our stack. Today I am collaging in my large art journal, which I will link a flip through below for what I've had. I've made a lot of stuff so far, so new flip through definitely coming soon. So I knew I wanted to focus on this one picture of Jennifer Lopez that I pulled from that spread. So I was really just looking to give like a simple background for that picture. You'll see it in a moment. It was a tricky cutout, but it was totally worth it. Just the position of her body, and it was so beautiful. And I kind of thought it could be as simple as that. So I went kind of a different route from last Collage With Me. But what I did when I cut this out was sometimes I'll do this where I cut out the excess first, which kind of makes it easier to get in on those tiny details. So I'll cut off like all the excess space and then go back in and get as close to the image as I can. Hands are a nightmare. You've heard me say it before. And it's true, but sometimes it's worth it, and this was definitely one of those times. So I got as close to the hand's edge as I could. I don't know how good I did, but I definitely, I attempted it. If I could give advice for cutting these small details and trying to get as close to the edge of an image as possible, I think what I would say is that it's better to leave extra than to cut too much, because you can always cut more, but you can't replace. So if I'm cutting an edge and I'm not totally certain about it, I will leave a little extra and then go in and just do a little bit at a time. I still have to practice more with the X-Acto knife and the blade, which people use to cut detail a lot. I tend to stray from that just because I trust my scissors so much, but I do think that it is really reliable when you can just not get into some areas with scissors. So I plan to practice that more as I move forward. I just loved this position of her body in this picture. I wanted to put it off center because I thought that would be cool, as opposed to just like centering it perfectly. Plus that like meadow on the right side, it has a straight edge on the end, which I tend to not do. I usually go for a ripped edge. So I thought putting her on the edge would kind of take away from that straight line. So I did add a little scotch tape there on the fingers, which I do sometimes. If I just can't get my adhesive small enough, I will just put a little scotch tape. I have no shame about that, especially in an art journal where it's really just, something I'm making for me. So I wanted to add just a little tiny strip of color to kind of offset that wide space on the left. And then it was time for the quote, which I put right on top there. And I love the way that all these colors worked together. I like that quote a lot. It says, "You turn yourself into a pretzel for people and think that that's a noble thing to put yourself second." Just a really nice quote, really beautiful picture. And that page is finished. So now we're going on to the next page. I knew I wanted my focus to be this clock, so I cut the excess. And then I went and cut a little closer to the edge to get perfect detail. I just really liked the clock. I thought it was so vivid. It was so, it's like stark, and it was perfect edges so it could be perfectly cut out. So that was definitely the focus of the piece. I've been doing something lately, and especially this art journal, where I've been like messing around with cutting images into strips and then kind of glitching them a little bit, as you see here. So the clock, it just wasn't doing it for me, so I wanted to do the little glitch. This pattern from this Banana Republic ad was absolutely perfect, and I kind of decided to go puzzle pieces with it. I just cut out a bunch of things from my stack that I thought would be kind of cool and would match in a colorful tone, and then I was just gonna piece them together to make a kind of patchwork background to go behind the clock, with the clock as the focus. That yellow gold was from a Cartier ad, just gold and negative space that they'd put around the ad. And yeah, now it was all about puzzle piece assembly, just trying to make sure there weren't any white spaces in between. And I did have to mess with it a little bit to see exactly what I wanted to do. I didn't say this yet in this video, but the adhesives that I'm using are photo mounting squares. It is my favorite type of adhesive, especially for magazine paper where you don't really want to mess with glues too much. But basically, these photo mounting squares are just little double-sided sticky squares, and they are very easy to rip and to cut into smaller pieces for smaller spaces. I absolutely love them. I'll link them below. It's probably not the best adhesive to use, but for me, it just works. You'll see if you go to buy them from places that they'll have repositionable and permanent. For me, you gotta do permanent. The repositionable ones will lift up and things can move around. I've had that experience in my art journals. So you gotta go with the permanent ones. They do allow you to rip, like to pull it up and move it at first, but then they do get permanent the more you like press down on them. And you do have to be careful ripping them off, moving them. That was them. If you move them, it can rip the paper, but with experience, you kind of know like which papers it's gonna rip and which it's not. And as long as you're like delicate and mindful, they are my favorite adhesive by far. So the glitch ended up being a little more subtle than I planned, but I kind of like how that turned out. It's like, I don't know, it's just like a little bit off center and off kilter, but these 2 pages are done, and I really hope you enjoyed this. I hope you feel inspired. All you need is one magazine to make a really cool collage. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.